Call me late to the party again, but last weekend I watched Hostel for the first time, and the topic of human hunting came up. I want to talk about the inspiration behind it. So before seeing the film, I had heard a lot of things about it. I knew it was going to be gruesome when I saw that Eli Roth was a part of it. I thought immediately of the dark web because there's red rooms where people often pay in cryptocurrencies to hide their identity, to see people tortured. I've actually surfed the deep web. I never went into any red rooms or dark web places where there was illicit acts going on, but I did see on some of the more common pages, such as their Wiki Onion page and other links. The links on there are like these long string of text. It's almost incoherent, and it's really hard to just stumble on these places without getting some kind of leads. And most of the websites are very antiquated. It doesn't look like your standard normal website. It's almost like someone coded it just for the purpose of hiding. And so some of the more common pages that lead to other links are just people claiming to be selling people's stolen information, or it might be underground news networks like ProPublica. It might be someone sharing the Bible underground. It could be buying drugs. But you've heard a lot about the deep web and the dark web. There's a lot of information out there. I've talked about it on this channel. There's plenty of videos I have on it in a playlist. So let's look at his inspiration, and surprise, surprise, he was inspired by the deep web. Torture horror describes such a grisly subgenre of movies. When you ask a horror fan what their favorite torture horror film is, there's a good chance that Hostel will come up once or twice. Eli Roth released Hostel in 2005 and led the charge for a new wave of horror movies that featured extensive scenes of torture, antagonists filled with bloodlust and sometimes more gore than dialogue. Hostel especially took audience by surprise when it boasted the line "inspired by true events" at the end of its trailer. Hostel and the world of torture horror seems like a gruesome, far-fetched possibility, only made up by the most creatively tortured mind. But could there be a real-world situation where these things happen? Hostel is about two best friends, Josh, played by Derek Richardson, and Paxton, played by Jay Henderson, who decided to spend their summer after graduating backpacking across Europe. They meet a stranger named Ollie in Amsterdam, who is after the same thrill of sexual encounters and drug escapades as them. The three find themselves inside a Slovakian hostel with no idea what happens next when they wake up, trapped in a basement with a surgeon who wants to torture and kill them. You might be asking yourself what part of that could be true, the horrifying real-life source material involved in an alleged foreign website that offers anyone the chance to kill for the right price. Eli Roth sat down with Dread Central to speak about Hostel and other sick and twisted topics. In the interview, they directly asked Roth how Hostel came about. Roth told Dredd that he was talking to Harry Knowles of Ain't It Cool News about the many gross and abhorrent things that they had seen on the internet. The two were talking about how there was a man in Texas who was arrested for setting up a gun so that people could control it virtually online and hunt wild game in real time. Roth had responded to the comment about how they may as well just put a human being in a room to be shot. The singular comment prompted Knowles to tell Roth about what he had found. Knowles sent Roth a link to a website where you could pay $10,000 to travel to Thailand and walk into a room and shoot someone in the head. The site had made claims that the person being shot signed up for it and part of the profits would go to their families. The individuals who signed up for the site knew they would die anyway due to poor situations, so this was their way of allowing the rest of their families the ability to live. These people would truly be giving the ultimate sacrifice for their families. Roth later stated in the interview that the site was real, but to get any further and get more information, he would have to input his credit card information. Unlike many of the dumb horror movie characters we see who make the wrong choice, Roth knew that putting his card information on a killing site was probably not a good idea. The concept of the rich hunting the poor or unsuspecting isn't new. We have had plenty of movies like The Running Man, newer films like The Hunt, where the upper class use their resources to partake in very questionable decisions to hunt humans for sport. However, Hostel takes the concept of killing for sport or thrill to a new level because it doesn't entirely focus on the villains being insanely rich. They are just a random group of people who want to live out their darkest fantasies and desires, adding in the element of it taking place in different countries with seemingly less restrictive laws, making it that much more horrific. These backpackers who are traveling and eventually killed may never be found or even looked for because the nature of the kidnappings and murders. Their names could wash away down the drain just like the blood from the dismembered bodies does in these underground dungeons. Eli Roth mentioned in the interview that he heard this and knew that someone out there would take the opportunity. Roth told Dredd that there have to be people out there who are looking for a next level thrill because doing drugs, gambling, and going to strip clubs didn't provide enough excitement as is. He continued that he knew of men who would travel to Europe, specifically Amsterdam, and get hookers and do drugs. Because of this connection to his real life, Roth knew that Amsterdam would be a great location to use for his film premise. He said he wanted Amsterdam to have an X-rated Disneyland feel, and he accomplished that look. Hostel's dark and gritty atmosphere mixed with neon lights and women in slinky clothes is the perfect combination for people looking for the ultimate experience. Unfortunately for Josh and Paxton, and maybe of those impoverished people in Thailand, the experience was truly to die for. Roth really leaned into the whole "if it's available, someone will partake" idea in Hostel. What makes the film truly terrifying is this experience seems readily and easily available. Josh and Paxton didn't have to suffer too much or work too hard to find these X-rated activities. In fact, they stumbled upon them because of how willingly they were to have any experience with the gorgeous women and illicit drugs. On a deeper level, Roth's film could be taking a look at how Western culture tends to overdo excess. Western societies always want more money, more sex, more power, more control. Josh and Paxton seemed as if they're owed a wild experience because they had the means to travel to Amsterdam, where drugs are legal and sex work is more commonplace. This desire for excess and more gets them into quite a sticky and bloody situation. So it was definitely a really gruesome film, and it definitely played into that. I've been to Europe last year. I was in Amsterdam for a day, so not long. There are a lot of tourists who like to go to other countries or even other cities just for experiences, and it is a very plausible idea that someone looking for something simple as strippers, sex workers could find themselves being entrapped by people who are going to do awful things. That's why oftentimes people say don't turn your back, don't leave your drink unattended, because these days you could get roofied whether you're a man or a woman. So definitely an interesting premise. Would not be surprised if there wasn't something like that going on. Again, the dark web, there's millions of stories you can hear on the internet about sites, horrible snuff sites. What do you think about human hunting as a sport? Do you believe that there are networks that do this? Do you think they take volunteers, kind of like in the black market where people sell their organs for their families to have a better life? Or do you think these people are being kidnapped and pushed into this? Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this video interesting, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care. God bless. And until next time.